Hey, this is Phoenix. This is a VOD review for Kitty, who's playing Mercy today. They're currently a bronze player. They said on Reddit, "Hey guys, been playing Mercy since season 5 of Overwatch 1. I don't really care too much about my rank, and I feel like I don't belong in bronze. Big surprise. In Overwatch 1, I was plat at my peak, but I just cannot get out of bronze. Can someone please give me some advice?" And then they gave two codes, a win and a loss. We're going to be taking a look at the loss on Havana this match, and I already did skim through it. And I think I could point out a couple things for you that I think you could work on. For context, I'm a GM player. I usually play Ana, Mercy, Kiriko, and so I just want to take a look at this for you and see if I can point some things out for you. So, first things first, by the way, S tier Mercy skin. This is the correct one.
Attackers incoming. Escort the payload.
All right, right off the bat. Right off the bat, I think you're actually sticking too close to your tank already, and this is something I noticed throughout your game, just in general. I think you stick too close to your tank and less to your DPS. Right now, I think what I would say is I wish you were probably closer to your DPS and pocketing them more often. Especially in this comp, by the way, Sojourn would definitely be the primary DPS that you want to just pocket, right? And push damage boost as much as possible. But right now, you're sticking very close to your tank, which, by the way, you're healing your tank right now, not letting your Moira heal, which means Moira is getting less ult charge overall, which means she's going to have her ultimate less often. You're taking that ult charge for yourself right now. And but in like a general rule, Mercy's ultimate is, I think, quite lackluster for the most part compared to, like, relatively to the other supports in the game. Like compared to like Ana, Nano, which is like superior to Valk most of the time. Obviously, there are some exceptions to this, but by general rule, you don't want to be taking your ult charge away from your co-support, especially if they're the flex support, right? In this case, they would be flex and you would be the main. So that's something I just want you to consider going forward in your future games. So just so you're aware as well, this is something else that I did want to point out. You will fly up like this motion like this a lot in your game, which puts you just kind of out in the open right now, and definitely puts you in the enemy team's LOS. Ooh, my God, my DPI just like shot up there for some moment. And on a map like Havana, which is going to be very, very on the first point right here and the last point, which we don't get to, unfortunately, in this game, it's very sniper friendly. So you'll see a lot of Widowmakers, especially on the first point, Hanzos, Ashes, people like that. It's not too uncommon to see double sniper run. So putting yourself out in the open like this puts you in such a dangerous position, especially for a Widowmaker like this, right? So Widowmaker's going to take a, I think she does shoot you. Oh yeah, she actually ends up killing you right there, right? Just because you're so out in the open. So instead of, being out here, or like worst case scenario, you're up here flying, right? This is like still a pretty bad scenario right here where you're out in the open. So you got to really use the payload for cover, or just have someone else on the payload. And then you, if you're going to be pocketing Sojourn, like be either in here, another safe spot would be like in here. But right now we're just kind of in the middle of the street, taking a lot of unnecessary damage, which eventually causes you to die. So that's something to think about. So definitely respect the line of sights of your enemy team more, especially snipers. So don't go out to the open unnecessarily. Use good cover and stay out of those sight lines as much as possible. This is very nitpicky, by the way, but I think it's very important because these things add up. You're currently having yellow beam, healing beam on Moira right now when she's full health. It's little things like these that add up over time. Mercy is a main support, and she's a support that, like Brig and like Lucio, maybe not as much Lucio, scrap that. Kind of like Brig, where you're not making big impactful plays like Ana would. Ana can throw a nade, can sleep someone, and make really big plays that can dictate tempos of fights. But what Mercy and Brig do really well at is make small like small contribution over long periods of time in a game that start to add up, right? So your contribution isn't going to be like a really big play that you make. It's going to be like small things like what for Mercy, mostly it's going to be damage boosting someone, you know, really cranking up their damage, amplifying it. And so seeing things like this, you know, if you're, you know, healing someone at full health, things like that, that really hurts like Mercy's contribution and her value to the team. So make sure that, you know, we're being a little bit more aware and thoughtful about who our beam is on, and then really efficiently using it. So like if they're full health, don't need to heal them. Make sure we're damage boosting them. And then, you know, if we're damage boosting, like who should we be damage boosting? Moira, probably not it. Sojourner on the other hand, definitely it, right? So something to think about. Again, super jumping really high out in the open right now. Very scary. I would be like terrified if I were you. Because Widowmaker's on that high ground too right now, so it's just really scary. Jesus. This is a great res, by the way. You're in cover. I love to see that you actually go into the cover and didn't like res out here, for example, right? This is great. And if possible, ideally, most of your reses should look like that in cover. You make a couple out there that I think were just out in the open, but I like obviously, you know, like being in cover is much a safer option than being out here, right? Especially if there is a widow. So just keep that more in mind as you do go for these reses.
This should help, Lena.
All right. So this one's a little bit like a positioning thing, right? Relative to your own team, you're in a bit of a really dangerous spot right now, especially because your Reinhardt just died. So your tank is gone right now. So right now, like if we kind of like put ourselves like this right now, right? You're technically kind of in the front line right now, and Doomfist is about to jump you. If I were in your position, I think I would be much rather playing up here right now, especially with my Sojourner, just sticking with her. For the most part, and this feels like a much safer option, right? Of course, Doomfist can come up here, Lifeweaver can, you know, pull someone up here, but at least you're with the DPS for like one, and then two, we're not in like unnecessarily out in the open. Like again, sucks that Reinhardt did die. It is what it is. Can't really control that, but nice. You get back into cover eventually, but it was just a little like not as fast as I would like for it to be. It still feels so dangerous. I like the damage boost on the Sojourner. That looks great. You damage boosted Moira right there. That's fantastic. And then you swap to healing immediately. It's things like that. That starts really adding up over time. Ooh, okay. So right there too, just a little like, and I'm bringing this up just because I see it like in the rest of the video anyway. So it's not because like I just saw one instance of it and then I'm like saying this. I skimmed through like your game earlier, most of it, and so this is something I'm like kind of saying with all of it. Right now, as is, your Guardian Angel movement just looks a little like awkward, like a little just uncomfortable right now. I think that's the best way to describe it. I would highly recommend you do like a little bit of Mercy parkour, which will actually like kind of like, you know, hold your hand kind of through all the different texts and stuff like that, which I mean I had to do when I first started playing Mercy, right? And then even now sometimes it's just a decent warm-up for me personally. I don't play her as often, but that being said, it just looks a little uncomfortable, and I see you get caught on like environmental obstacles and things like that. Which I mean, if you watch like top 500 Mercy players, you know, play, you still see that like very rarely time to time. But I just see it more often with you than I would like to see right now, and it just makes me feel that like your movement just feels a little clunky right now, and much less smoother than I would like for it to be. And I can link you to a couple workshop codes that I would recommend, or things like that. And then another thing I'll pause right here for another reason is because you're being shot by the turret because you're out in the open, right? Not in cover. Your Reinhardt is in a little bit of trouble, so you do have to kind of like, you feel like you're being forced to like help him because your Moira's back here for whatever reason. But I mean, like even then you could still be like at least here, right? And then cover yourself from that turret. I don't think you couldn't be here or anything. Maybe be here, but this feels dangerous. And to be honest, your Reinhardt is just kind of caught out of position, and you're trying to bail him out, but I don't even know if you can because he's so low. Oh my god! And then since you tried to bail him out, and then now he's dead, you're gonna die, and that just really sucks. So it's got I think that with that, it's like recognizing when your teammates are able to be saved. That in that case, 100% could not be saved. I don't think, actually. Yeah. So I don't think you should have been out here. I think you should just stuck closer to your Sojourn anyways, right? Yeah, that's what I would say.
Healthy body, healthy mind.
I stand with you.
No time for games.
All right, you did swap to Kitiko halfway through, which is completely fine because I play Kitiko as well. And so I'll give you some things I see on Kitiko as well.
I'll find my own path.
And then on the written feedback that I'll send to you, I'll make sure to include what I'll do is I'll have general things that could apply to both Kitiko and Mercy, just kind of things that I think you should work on, things that are specific to Mercy, and then things specific to Kitiko, so that it's a little bit easier for you to read.
Not ready to overclock just yet.
Draw strength from nature.
Scary. Look at that Widow right now. We're just out in the open. Terrifying. I mean, if you have to be, you could be like over here if you have to be, or safer. Actually, this feels much safer to me. Actually, just like right here.
Transporting the payload.
Ugh, Jesus, she even shot you there. How scary. Whoa, okay. I think you should have just stayed up here. You're very low, so you're kind of putting yourself in a really dangerous spot by being down here. And then two, just you have the support passive, so you could just let yourself heal, right? Or just peek your Moira or something, just peek like this, and maybe she'll throw you a ball or something, or heal you a little bit. Then you could honestly, you could go out here and then go for a little kunai action, throw some kunais at the enemy team, give it a little bit more pressure to force them to move more this way, develop away from this tree of life now which they place. It's something to consider. I think you could have just stayed up here, to be honest. You had to use the Suzu there, which sucks too, because Suzu is such a good ability. Using it to save yourself or a teammate is a very valid use of it, but I personally would try to minimize it as much as possible because I like using it more for the cleanse rather than to save someone. But it is what it is. Sometimes you have to use it to save someone. So look at that. Yeah, you were healing your Moira there instead of your Ramattra. I would have gone for the Ramattra instead. Your Moira was what? Let me check here. We'll even slow it down so it's a little bit easier to see and follow. Yeah, she was kind of half full health there, and then you healed her. Also, this actually brings up a very interesting thing I just saw. You see how your camera's going really far right and then really far left? I don't know if you're using the same sensitivity for Mercy as you are for your Kitiko. I would really highly suggest reducing your Kitiko sensitivity. As is right now, it's actually really high. So you're just kind of shifting back and forth. And so you end up missing a whole set of Fudos right there. That would have healed the Moira to full. And then you could have probably shifted your focus onto the Ramattra right there. So I was there's another set right there. So I don't know what your sensitivity is. These are the moments where I kind of wish that we were able to speak on a call or something with the people that I'm watching their gameplay of, just because then I can ask questions. But I think your sensitivity is actually too high on Kitiko right now. That's something I saw kind of for the rest of your gameplay on Kitiko as well. You eventually swap back though. All right, feels bad. It is what it is.
You take a lot of damage, huh?
So that would be a very unnecessary use of your Suzu. Didn't really save anyone with it. Everyone was pretty much full at that point. So there's not too much of a reason for you to use it right there. And now it's on a 13-second cooldown, which is really high. So I like that you're like actually coming out and DPSing. I want to see you heal that. Damn, that sucks. I think that's like, I'm trying to find out if that's like tunnel visioning. I know that you do tunnel vision, by the way. I was going to talk about that later when I saw it a little bit more prevalently when you're playing Mercy. But I feel like you saw the like Doomfist, and so you're like, I gotta kill this Doomfist. Like he's low, I'm gonna like trade him, right? Instead of healing your Sojourn right there, which probably she could have finished off the Doomfist as well, right? So maybe just trying to be a little bit more aware about your teammates and what's going on, and looking at the bigger picture rather than just like focusing on the glaring issue in front of you, which is a really easy trap to fall into. But as you rank higher and higher, those are things that like you start having to juggle a lot on your plate, right? And that's part of it. It's like you have to start looking at the bigger picture rather than just what's going on in front of you. Nice. I love to see you like throwing kunais out when no one else needs healing. That is like really good to see.
Payload's heading out. The goddess is here.
Ooh. Yeah, I feel like I was in a lot of danger right there. It just feels very out of position. You're with your Ramatra, which is, you're with your tank obviously, but instead of jumping down, I think what I would have liked to see is just move up here. I think we're kind of in a bad spot anyways. Like we put ourselves into a bad position, right? Widowmaker's right there. We're kind of out in the open, caught out, by the enemy team. So like if you had to do something, I would have moved like more like this kind of situation, and then at least that would let me fall back with my team. That would of course leave Ramatra in a bit of a bad position, but you guys both were caught out, so this is just a rough one. Alright, we're just gonna move, and then we swap back to Mercy. Let me make sure I don't miss anything on that. Oh, that's right. Work on weaving your kunais with your Ufudas, so you can throw 2 kunais in between each Ufuda without like losing out on your Ufuda time, so you won't decrease like your healing per second. So let me actually show you what that actually looks like. 420. Haha, funny number. Not career profile. Let me actually go into the training practice range and show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so.
I'll find my own path.
Why is this guy damaged? I've never seen that before. Anyways, so if I hold right click, I'm just going to hold my right click, which is my healing button. In between each like Ufuda that I throw, there's like a couple, like a second, a couple seconds, whatever. However, like there's like a little period of time where I'm not doing anything else other than like the animation, right, for the next Ufuda. So do this, my hand back. So what you could do in between is throw your kunais, and it won't actually like detract on how much healing you're throwing out. So if I do this, I'm still throwing out the Fuda at the same rate, right? So I just do this, throw a kunai, at a minimum, throw 1 out. Like otherwise it's just a waste. You're not doing anything in between each Fuda throw, so you might as well throw something out, right? And honestly, even like this, just go into the practice range and practice this. There's nothing wrong with practicing the practice range, right? At least if it means like getting comfortable with your kit. So just practice, maybe with these spots, throwing your kunai out in between each one. Once you start getting a little more comfortable, maybe start throwing 2 out. So this is something I think you could work on for Kiriko. It's something that, even I could work on probably a little bit more, to be honest. But just wanted to show you that real quick, just so you understand what I mean by that when I tell you that feedback. Oh shoot, where were we? There you are.
Traveling to Havana.
Alright, so
Ready for battle.
just go to 420. There you are. Alright, cool. Let's get back right. Alright, so you guys cap point. You're kind of flying out in the open again. And so there's a turret that's shooting at you. I think you almost die actually here. Scary. Alright, this is something I did want to point out. You're rezzing your Sojourn right now. You're low HP, so you're in a lot of danger, and then you don't really like look around. So you just kind of like did this kind of motion with your camera, by the way. So I know you didn't really check to see if you were safe or not, by the way. You did this. You shot at the turret. You got scared, got into cover, and then you started rezzing like this. You never for a moment checked over here. Now, you were lucky because Ramontra did put up a shield for you, but we don't want to like, you know, leave things to luck, right? The worst thing is that Doomfist is actually coming up here, and if had you like just looked for a second, you would have seen that you were unsafe, and you should like, you know, shouldn't have gone for the rest. So he ends up killing you for it. But also, just as like a little tip, you don't need to res right there because you just took point, right? You just captured this point, meaning that the spawn went from here, right, for you guys to now over here. This means that your Sojourn would be respawning right here, which is right next to you guys, right? So there was no reason to res her because your res is also on like a 25-second cooldown. Or was it 20 or 25? It's one of those two. So you just lost a really key ability, not even for a team fight, right? So it's just something to consider. It's a 30-second cooldown. Holy shit, I didn't know that. I thought it was 20 or 25. That's crazy. So that's one of the longest cooldowns in the game. And you put it on cooldown for like virtually no reason right there, right? So it's just something to consider and keep in your mind. If you get a checkpoint, generally you don't need to res someone who's out here. The only exception to this rule that I would say is, let's say your whole team is set up right here, right when you cap. Like your Sojourn died or something, you're here, and then let's say like, you know, these three are like right here, right? But you guys have momentum. Let's say you Doomfist isn't here for whatever reason. Let's just say like it's like a full 5 team on your team, except for Sojourn who dies, 3 on the enemy team. Your 2 players on the enemy team are respawning right now or something like that. That would be a good time to res because you guys have momentum. There are 3, you guys are 5, so you guys have like a big advantage. You guys have like you guys are dictating the tempo, so that would be a good res because now you guys could actually go in and catch these guys out and kill them, right? That would be a great res. That would be like probably the one exception to the rule of like the whole checkpoint thing. Because otherwise it's just like just go ahead and give up the 9 seconds for them to respawn. The 9 seconds is worth it for your 30 seconds. Or it's not worth it, sorry, for your 30 seconds. So just let them respawn. All right. Nice try trying to save her. Feels bad. I'm glad you didn't go back out there. Glad you're in here instead. There's no reason for you to die. Ooh, Jesus. Scary. Like, see where you are, right? You're in between the 2 tanks in the game right now. That's a really bad position to be, especially for Mercy, right? Oh, whoa, okay. So this is actually what I was talking about the, what do you call it? The tunnel visioning. You see that your Mei is in trouble. So you try to like, I think that's why you came out here. You're like, I see my, you know, one of my DPS is hurt. They're in trouble. I'm going to try to fly to them to help him. And then so you like put yourself in a really bad situation like this, where you're kind of in the middle of the enemy team without like your team to help you or support you. Is this Ana? Yeah, that's Ana. Ana's not really in the position to bail you out as well. She will be in the moment, right? Yeah, now she is. But you don't want to ever like leave it up to your teammates to bail you out. You kind of put yourself in this really like sketchy situation. And I know, and I having seen this before, I know you get this res off, and I know you survive for it. But I am telling you, had these players been better, especially like this Zenyatta, you would have died, right? And so it's just a good habit to get into, to not doing risky moves like this for like virtually no reason, because Mei again is going to respawn over here anyways. If you guys took like maybe just 5-9 seconds, however it is, just to like pull back and just regroup and let the Mei catch up to you guys, it would have been fine. But we instead go for this really risky play for and it just ends up like could have gotten you killed. It's just really scary. Holy shit! And you almost die for it. 17. That's crazy. You guys actually even like end up losing the team fight anyways, so it doesn't matter. Yep, perfect. Get into cover. That was scary, right? What the hell? Are you stuck in the bushes? You are. That is so funny. Sorry. I didn't even notice that the first time around. Sorry. I get really interested by things like this. Huh. That is so interesting. I didn't know you could get stuck on those bushes. You could be damage boosting like Soldier right now or Sojourn. Don't need to be healing your Ramatra that's full health right now, right? Or swap your beam over to Sojourn, which you do to heal her. And then, yeah, perfect. Damage boosting her. I saw this earlier, and I don't know if there's really anything you could do here. Just because, like, it's not like I know you want to help her get out of this situation, but at the same time, she also puts herself in this situation by doing stuff like this. Ana definitely could have just maybe walked this way, you know, or at least calm out to your team like, hey, there's a Widow, she's pinned down her Ana, like, could we get her? Because this Widow is so out of position. You guys could have killed her if you guys were like talking to each other. Now, that's an ideal kind of situation, right? Where everyone is in voice chat, no one's toxic, no one's racist, no one's sexist. No one said the gamer word. It's beautiful. Everyone's super positive. Like, that's ideal, right? And so you talk to your team and say, hey, there's a Widow right here. That's like killing our Ana. We need to help our Ana, right? Maybe your team would turn around. Now, that's like in a perfect world. Obviously, you know, we're not in one. So maybe you were, maybe you weren't. Maybe everyone on your team was super toxic, racist. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm glad I didn't see you fly over to your Ana to save her, because that probably would have gotten you killed, possibly. Like, potentially could have gotten you killed anyways, so. I'm glad you didn't fly over to her until the Widow was gone. That's nice to see.
It's go time.
60 seconds.
Hold on. I hear the Widow to my right, and then we saw that the Widow was over here, like on top of this, right? So this is like, you need to be a little bit more aware of where the enemy team positioning is, because I'm pretty sure the Widow is like still over here, right? Yeah, she's still just hanging out here. Woo! Goes for the shot too. This is like being a little bit more aware about audio cues as well. I mean, this is like why I gotta ask, like, did you hear her shooting? Right? Do you hear like her footsteps as well? If not, maybe adjust your sound a little bit, because those are things that are really important for you know, your awareness in this game. Overwatch is a very visual heavy game. There's a lot of visual clutter. I mean, like, even now, like, there's a lot of shit going on like on my screen right now, right? There's a lot. So missing out on like audio cues is kind of detrimental. Very scary res out in the open. This is one of the reses I was talking about where I was like, this feels very out in the open and really scary. You got pulled back there on the GA as well, which felt very odd. I don't know what your settings look like for Mercy right now. I hope you have it on prefer facing target for like GA targets. That would be ideal. That's at least, I think that's like the best one. Obviously, like, each preference is different for each person. I usually highly recommend it because you can be pretty flexible on both ways. And I can, you know, if we ever do speak, I can show you what that really looks like. Or, you know, you could look up any top 500 Mercy player. Skiesi is a great one. Neandra is also a good one. Someone else suggested that, I believe, in the Reddit post already. So you could take a look at those. They also go into depth on the Mercy settings. I won't really touch it today. But you got pulled back there, which was kind of weird. I think it was because your beam was attached to Ramatra or something. So that's like being a little bit more aware about like where your beam is. And then, you know, if your beam is attached to someone, know that you're going to get pulled back to them, you know, if they're behind you. So honestly, good kill on the Widow. I would have done it too. I like that you were damage boosting your Ramatra right here for his ult. Like, that's good to see. I'm really happy to see that. Now, you are the only support now, so you got to keep him up. So, taking, like, the payload cuts you guys off from one another, and so he ends up dying, which really sucks, because look at how low the Zarya gets right here. That could have won you guys the fight. You know, maybe if you were here instead, because this feels safer anyways to me, because you got really good cover right here, and then you're also, like, you know, just have visual of your own tank right here. Like, this probably could have, like, healed the Ramatra enough to, like, stay alive and gotten you a kill on Zarya, which potentially could have turned this whole team fight around for you guys, especially more so because they're down one. They're down their Widow, so just something to consider. Yeah, he ends up dying. So maybe be like, try to be a little more thoughtful about your positioning in team fights and like how best to enable your team, right?
30 seconds.
In a moment like this, if your tank dies like that, or not just your tank, if it looks like a team fight was lost, your first instinct should be like look around you really quick. Like, so if I were you, my tank just died, I'd just do like this kind of motion. I'd just like, whoa, just look around and be like, can I fly to someone away from like the enemy team, right? Just look around and be like, whoosh, right? There's Sojourn. I would see her and be like, all right, I'm going to fly to you. And then slingshot over here, get to cover, and then walk away to safety. If you don't see someone and you're like, think to yourself, I can't realistically get away from the team fight, don't do what you did here, which is like hide behind payload, right? But just go ahead and walk into the enemy team, get your pistol out, and just start shooting. And like just try to die as quickly as possible. The reason why I say that is because each second that you spend alive at this point after the team fight has been lost is 1 second that each respawn timer for your dead teammates like come back, right? So each second, right? And so by the time you end up dying,
30 seconds remaining.
which will be in a moment, your soldier's back, your on is back, and so we're kind of staggered, right? Now, in order for the team to regroup, Sojourner even staggers herself even more. So now you guys have 24 seconds on the clock, and now we have to wait an additional 9 seconds in order for the whole team to come back as 5, right? Had you and the Sojourner killed yourself quicker, like literally just walked into the enemy team and said, just kill me, right? We wouldn't have to wait for that long. We would maybe like have like 30 seconds and then like have like those 6 extra seconds to walk over the point as a team, right? It's little things like that that really add up over time. And I'm being very nitpicky about it in this review. And, you know, as like a, especially in your rank more so, this is pretty dependent on your own team to like make those kinds of decisions. So, but you know, I am just saying it so like you can think about it for future reference, basically. I'm glad you're damage boosting your soldier and healing him there. Like you're like here ult. Kind of in a really dangerous spot just because, you know, you're with the Zarya. But it's because it's like the last 5 seconds. So it's not even like worth looking at because I know you end up dying and then your whole team ends up dying. It's not even worth watching just because overtime is just messy. Always is. Unnecessarily flying out, right? They do have a Widowmaker, by the way. Feels very dangerous. She does even shoot at you for it. For a duel between Widowmakers, by the way, let's say like you have a Widowmaker and the enemy team has a Widowmaker, it's actually kind of worth damage boosting your Widowmaker because that means that she doesn't have to charge up her shot as much in order to get like a clean headshot, like a 200 HP headshot on the enemy Widow, or however much HP. It's like 175, right, for Widow, however much it is. So maybe it's worth helping your Widow out in a Widow duel like this, instead of like, I don't know, just you're like I say, you're healing your full health like on her right now. You could help out your Widowmaker instead right here, I think. And then you peek the corner, I think maybe to check out what was happening to the Rhine. You didn't need to. Ooh, this. I saw this earlier and I was like, you're just juking like circles around this Junker Queen. I thought that was awesome. I got to see it was pretty cool. Nice. And you kept your support up too as well, so that's fantastic. I'm surprised that the rest of the team didn't commit to killing the Ana right there. But hopefully you recognize that the enemy team was pretty far back versus the Junker Queen, who's the only real threat right there. So you did end up getting the Ana out and healing her quite a bit. But now I'm going to say, like, I think you're about to fly forwards, and that's really dangerous. Like, look at you. Getting shot by the turret. Widow could have shot you. You know, there's so many things that could happen here that just makes it so dangerous for you to fly out. Ooh, like this. Getting shot by the turret some more. Now you're in, like, a really weird spot. Flying again. It's just very scary. You don't have to always fly up in the air. We could stay on the ground, and that's 100% okay. Ooh, holy. Now you're like almost in front of your tank right there. That's scary. Yeah, you just keep flying up in the air when you have, there's no like reason to, if that makes sense. And then even actually by doing so, you're costing yourself information that could be important because, like, for example, let's say a team fight is happening around the payload. Let's say I'm playing Mercy. If I was playing Mercy and, you know, I had a DPS or something I could, you know, pocket, I'd be like maybe like right here. I'm pocketing them, right? I'm like chilling. There's a corner here. I feel safe. I feel good. And then I'm looking at the team fight. I look and I'm like, okay, this is happening. This is what's happening, right? And then I can make like comms and call outs to my teammates and be like, okay, like, you know, this person's low, you know, Juggler Queen has her shout up now, she's going to use it, things like that. But then I'm losing out on information if I'm constantly doing like this kind of motion, right? Do this. I'm not seeing the team fight as much. So I'm losing out on like, okay, I don't see anyone here for like a couple seconds or like 1 second or two. Do this, don't see anyone. Do it again. It's just like you do that over and over this team fight, and it's just like, and you guys want it. Don't get me wrong, you guys want it. The issue is you in a like a different team fight. I also see you doing that anyways. So it's like you're just missing out on like information that could be crucial. But it is what it is. So just something to keep in mind. Ooh, scary. You're on as a Chad. Just gonna say it.
شكرا.
I'm here to help.
You could go back and res her. She's in a pretty safe spot.
Enemy contact. Heroes never die. Heightening your capabilities.
I'm not too mad about this Valk. Mad's not even the right reason. I'm not like too like, you know, this Valk's not like that bad. I think it's okay just because you're down one, which is odd because I think you could honestly just come back and rest her, in my opinion. But it is what it is. You know, so you're fighting in a 5v4 situation. So popping Valk isn't like too like bad here. I just wish you would have saved it maybe a little bit longer because the team fight really hasn't happened yet. So right now all you're doing is just kind of like, you have a very fancy like beam right now. That's about it. Holy shit, what is happening? Okay, that you can't control, right? It happens. But like if you had waited a little bit longer to where the enemy team's actually like committing into engaging in like a full team fight, you know, that's when I would like to pop Valk. Usually that's like pretty good time to pop Valk in my opinion, is when the team fight is actually like starting to like develop. But like when you're just kind of poking at each other, Valk is not very helpful in my opinion. So just something to keep in mind. Just die. You're gonna die anyways. Good. You just need to regroup with your team right now, especially because if they're gonna get this point right here, like right, if they're gonna get the point right now, which they probably will because your team's pretty like staggered right now. You guys have to defend this corner like aggressively to a T, right? This corner has to be like where you guys defend aggressively, if not here, if possible. So you guys just have to regroup. Just go ahead, give this up, and then like come back and regroup for this. I know you guys don't do that because I already like watched it, like I said earlier. But this is just kind of like for future reference. If you play on this map and you're kind of in a situation similar to like this, just if it's okay to give up the point sometimes. Sometimes the objective has to be given up so that you guys set yourself up in a better position for the next point. The same could be true for Gibraltar. Second point, that's also like pretty similar to like Havana in that the second point is really like defender friendly just because of how much high ground it has, just because of how much cover and then how much health packs there are scattered kind of across this area. So it's very defender friendly. So setting yourself up for success on the second point is sometimes more important than contesting the first objective for like a couple more seconds. But unfortunately, I know your team doesn't do that, which sucks.
Checking in.
By the way, they got the point, so their spawn is like right there now. So every time you guys just fight out here, the enemy team just kind of spawns and comes out here, which I know what happens here. I watch this. This is just you can't control your teammates. There's nothing you can do about this. It sucks. Ideally, you would be calming to your team that we need to be setting up for a second point anyways, but it is what it is. Like, these are the games you have to work with. And so you coming out here to, go to the Reinhardt, and I believe you try to go out and res him right here. It's just so dangerous because there's no reason. You don't even get the res off, and two, like, look how out of position you are now, like, with the enemy team. They're going to, like, look at you, right? And then three, you just need to focus on just go ahead and getting set up. Like, that's just very important. I can't, like, understate how important that is. That's why I'm, like, focusing on it so much right now. She ended up dying, which really sucks. Alright, so we're gonna... Sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit just because I was trying to get to the good part. Alright, Ryan dies. You have Nano, and you have Torvald. Unfortunately, everyone's so staggered right now. So it doesn't surprise me that you guys lost the second point this quickly. I know, like I say, it's not something you can necessarily control. You can't control your teammates, right? That being said, right, it's just... I say all this so you... understand why it's so important. These are game concepts that are really important for, future games. And, eventually when you rank up more and more, these will be things that people will have to start considering. And so I'm just telling you this so that you can start considering it as well. But unfortunately, I if I'm being honest, even if you had played perfectly here, I don't think there's too much that you could have done just because they have 3 ults. You guys have 2. You don't even have your tank. He's staggered. And then your whole team is pretty staggered too as well. So, yeah. It's just, there's nothing you can do about it. All right. So, couple things I just want to review over. Just go through everything that we talked about. So, first, generally, these are the things I want to see more on both Kiriko, Mercy, and just any support, really. Respect the enemy team LOS. You got especially snipers. Just don't go out into the open unnecessarily. Use really good cover and stay out of sight lines as much as possible. Eventually, in higher ranks, you're gonna start getting punished more often by the enemy team. So you're just taking lots of unnecessary damage when you do things like that, and then putting yourself in a lot of danger for no reason. Right, so that's something I would really look at when if you ever go back and look at your replays. Ask yourself, am I out here for any good reason? Am I going out to out of cover for a lot? So just kind of think about it. Keep an eye on it. It's something to consider. Don't unnecessarily heal your teammates when they're at full health. Right. You're not contributing anything at that point. There's no value in that. The only thing I could say about that is for Kiriko, when you have the Ofudas, they have a slower travel time now. So I know that pre-firing the Ofudas is kind of important now in order to keep your sustain up. But, with Kiriko, this is a good segue. Make sure we're weaving in kunais in between each Ofuda shot, right? Just to make sure that we're being really efficient about our damage and our healing, going in between the two, weaving them both together. That's like a hallmark of a really good Kiriko player, is seeing someone that is able to do that. So consider that. Another thing for Kiriko that I would like to see more is, save your Suzu for more opportune times, things that are a little more impactful. Don't need to use it to save your teammates, or you don't need to use it when you could just heal your teammates with an Ofuda, right? This game was a little forgiving on that because the enemy team didn't have any negative effects that you could cleanse. For example, on Anti, what is it? What's her name? Junker Queen Anti, Asha Burn, Dynamite Burn, things like that. You didn't have things you could cleanse necessarily. Technically, Zen or Discord Orb is one, but I personally wouldn't for Discord Orb. There's not really too much of a reason to do that one. But in those games, when you do have those things that you could cleanse, putting your Suzu on cooldown is detrimental, right? And it can even lose you fights. If you miss out on cleansing those key effects instead of using it on teammates that you could just heal, right? So that's something to consider for Kiriko. For Mercy, make sure we're pocketing our DPS more. I think you're playing a little too close to your tank right now. just because, you know, especially for like Sojourn and Pharah, there's a lot of DPS specifically, and you could, you know, look up any lists online right now that are pretty good. That, you know, just see which ones that you should be looking at to pocket more. But as I said, right now I think you're just playing a little too close to your tank right now. Let your other supports stabilize your tank in between engagement. This is very nitpicky, and I saw it a couple times. I don't think I actually pointed it out, which was my mistake, but I am running a little bit out of time here, so I do have to wrap things up. But let your other support heal like your team up if they don't have their ult, right? Or at least like if they're like pretty close to their ult or something. Like let's say you're at like 90 and your Ana's at 30. You know, I would probably heal my tank or something and get my 10% ult charge just so I can have ult. But let's say like you're at 20 and your Ana's at 80 or something. Let your Ana heal your team up in between team fights so that she can get her ult, right? So that's something to consider. I want you to think about. We need to start working on our Guardian Angel movement right now. We're jumping out in the open for no reason, putting ourselves in positions where we could potentially die or take unnecessary damage. We're also kind of getting caught on like environmental obstacles and, you know, flying to teammates by accident, things like that. I highly recommend going through just some of the Mercy Parkour custom games, just to get a solid foundation in understanding how Guardian Angel works. Another thing for Mercy is using our res more thoughtfully. It's a 30-second cooldown, right? Ability. I'm fixing it on my notes. And using it has to be worth it, as you're only going to really use it a handful of times in a game. Like we said earlier, we saw you res an ally after your team captured the checkpoint or whatever, right? And that was pretty unnecessary just because you put your cooldown. You put it on cooldown, but then you didn't even res them because you die, and then also too they were just going to respawn anyways. So that's just important. Just try to get as much value out of it as possible. And with that, and this is so important that I'm going to make it like a separate point in my notes as well. Check to res in like a safe position. Use cover when you res, right? Your first res when you res your DPS player in the first like building to the left of the first point, that was fantastic. You saw there was a Widowmaker out in the open or on the high ground shooting. That's who the person died to. So you go inside the building and then you res them. That was a great to see. That is like a picture perfect like res in cover. And I want to see that more often, right? It's very rarely worth it to res out in the open. It's only worth it, you know, if you have good communication with your teammates. Maybe you were playing like with your friends, with the group or something, and you ask them to protect you and they do so. That is the only time that I would say it's ever really worth it, right? Because otherwise you're just going to get blown up. People are going to see you res and they're just going to kill you for it, right? So just something to consider. Be aware that you are tunnel visioning right now. You're seeing critical teammates and immediately focusing on them rather than looking at the bigger picture. So like going out trying to fly to save a critical teammate and then them dying, and then you're like plopped in the middle of the enemy team or the middle of like the team fight, and then you don't have like a plan to like disengage. So if you're gonna do like risky plays like that, you always have to have like some sort of backup plan, right? In order to have a backup plan, like for example to like fly to another ally in order to get yourself out of this situation, you have to be aware of your the enemy teammates, the enemy positioning, and then your teammates positioning, right? So those are things that I want to start you to start considering. And then if possible, I want to see, I don't know if you've done it this way or not. If possible, bind your crouch button on a side mouse button. That's going to make super jumping a lot easier, because I feel like you want to super jump, but you're moving your camera up a lot for some reason. And I wish you were here so I could ask you about that. Fortunately, you're not. So it is what it is. But you're moving your camera up in order to jump a lot right now. So you're going to be losing out on like key information in team fights going on and like the positioning of your team and the enemy team. And like this is making your gameplay and your Guardian Angel movement feel like a little awkward and clunky right now. Like it makes you look very uncomfortable. If you don't have a mouse with the side button, I also recommend binding it crouch to the alt button to the left of your spacebar. That I found that that's what I did before I got a mouse with side buttons. That made super jumping way easier. So thank you for letting me take a look at this. It was a lot of fun. I hope, you know, these tips help. I hope I'm going to send you my notes as well. I'll send you my Discord over Reddit DMs as well, just so if you have any questions, or you know, if you want to clarify some things that I talked about, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, message me, and let me know what your questions are. If you ever want me to do another VOD review, I would love to. I love helping people. This community and Overwatch University actually helped me get to GM. That's how I found my top 500 player that I talked to, right? That got me to GM. And so I really like helping out. So if you ever want me to do this again, I'm more than happy to. I'm currently, as is right now, I'm currently helping 2 players also, coaching them like pretty consistently. I'm doing like a VOD review like once a week for them. So if you're interested in something like that, we could talk about it. One of them, I managed to get them from, not I managed to, but like together, like, you know, obviously they were putting in the work. But, you know, they've gone from like bronze to like gold now. So, and then the other person's just about to like break out of bronze to silver. And I'm seeing a lot of improvement from them. And not to like pat myself on the back or say it's like all me, because like I said, it is them putting in a lot of work. I think it's helpful to have someone kind of like take a look at your gameplay consistently like this. So if you're interested, the offer's open. And so thank you so much once again for letting me take a look at this, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.